Good evening, friends, and welcome to the Monday Night Nonfiction Post-Apocalyptic Book Club. And so we're talking this evening about James Jones's fantastic book, 150 Survival Secrets. This is our next to the last week doing this. So this week we are doing paragraphs, let me see, 138 through 145. Next week we'll do paragraphs 146 through 150. Then we go into our new book, which is going to be Mark Rettinger's Bug In, Bug Out, the Urban Survival Manual. So do me a favor. Let me see. Scott usually tells me, can you hear me? Can you see me? Are we doing okay? Are we live this evening? So let me go back here. I bet you Scott Hummer was the first one here too. Shenandoah George, good evening. Welcome. I was just on... gosh, I don't know why I can't remember the name of that site. Anyhow, Chris Evans' site and Shenandoah George and I were talking there. So thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate it. Scott Hummer, first one here. Thank you, sir. Good evening. L Dog, welcomes. And let me see who else we've got here. Love Son, good evening. Welcome. Pat Butler. Fantastic. Methane Creator, let me tell you something. Methane Creator is the head of the Bell County preparedness group. And if you saw my last pantry haul video, his wife fixed a fantastic homeopathic solutions 3-ring binder for me. A 1-inch thick 3-ring binder filled with fantastic stuff. Just totally impressed with her knowledge of homeopathic healing. Really appreciate it. Then, of course, Methane Creator sent us all home with stuff. I was telling him that one of my concerns was that if I defend my parish against an intruder, that how will the police know the good from the bad? And it just so happens that one of the members there, Kevin, is a retired military policeman, and he's done a lot of security consulting. Jim is an expert in it as well. And so I ended up, Methane Creator gave me a small bag, a carry bag, that I can put my defensive tool as well as a security vest inside of it so that I can put on a security vest. And that way, hopefully, it will avoid blue-on-blue contact. That is the police firing on me, a friendly guy. We'll see. Let's keep our fingers crossed. There are some other secrets that Kevin, another member, told me about, and we'll get into those later. But he also gave me a package of body wipes and a flashlight. This fantastic little flashlight that he found. And he said that he had seen in one of my videos that I wanted to have red light available for my radio room. And so when he saw that this little flashlight that's USB rechargeable had red light capability, he decided that was the appropriate thing for me. So let me see if I can find the red light. Oh, it's this other button, this button here. And one of those buttons. But anyhow, it comes up with the red light, and I'm not going to find it tonight. He'll have to teach me again. But anyhow, it has a red light on it so that we can keep our night vision while we're in the radio room. So thank you for that as well. So let me see. He gave me that. The wipes, the flashlight, the bag, the 1-inch binder full of homeopathics. I mean, gosh, you guys, if you are within an hour drive of Killeen, Belton area for the Bell County Preparedness Group, go. It's the third Saturday of every month at 1 o'clock. Go to Bell County Preparedness on YouTube, join, and get information on when they're going to have their meetings. Just superior, one of my favorites. Okay, let me see who else we've got here. Theoxerus, my favorite guy from, one of my favorite people from Utah. Let me see who else. Shenandoah George, I told you about. We were just over on, he's going to help me out with the name of the channel here. It's Chris Evans' channel. Butch Graves, Methane Creator. Butch Graves, good evening. Welcome. And L Dog, hey, good to see you. Little Lone Prepper. Uh, let me see who else. Love Son. God, all these wonderful people. Higgy Homestead and Kaylin Strain. Oh, Kaylin, I apologize. I have had, we've got the cedar trees are exploding here in Central Texas right now. Cedar pollen is extremely bad. I went to bed early last night. I've done so many asthma treatments. It's pitiful. My blood pulse ox this morning was 86. And so I've been on my oxygen treatment and inhalation therapy all day trying to get rid of this doggone cedar. So I apologize. I was not available for your live last night. I really am sorry. I really want to support you. Do me a favor, put your link up there so that other people can support you at 7 o'clock every Sunday night. Kaylin Strain does a review of an MRE. So, listen to her and she'll tell you whether or not it tastes good. Let me see. I got to put my glasses back on. There's a new one here. Joe in Life 9. North Carolina one. Okay. Good evening. Welcome. Let me see who else. Do we have anybody else? Okay. It looks like we're all here. Great. So let's get into this fantastic book. And I've got the link in there. Get one. Fantastic book to highlight. I don't have this one tabbed as much as I normally do. However, I do have an awful lot of highlights. Okay. So I've gone through a highlighter. You'll see that the fluorescent highlighter that I used earlier has run out, and I am now in a kind of a dull yellow highlighter as we get into this later. So let's, and that's number 138 there. I don't want to get in there yet, I don't think. Where are we starting? We're starting at, yeah, I guess we are. That's where we're starting. It's 138. What are the alert levels used by survivalists to classify threat conditions? So he goes basically with a 4-color system. Green means everything's normal, don't worry about it. Yellow means that we're relatively safe. Stay close to your familiar environment. Don't try to, if you go away from you don't have to be that concerned when you're in your familiar environment. However, be concerned when you leave your familiar environment. So your area of concern versus your area of control. So if you're in your area of control, don't worry about it. If you're in your area of concern, be worried about it. Condition orange, there is a condition threatening you, and condition red, the threat is imminent. Okay. Now, that led me to say, I have been on a lot of channels. I know one that I no longer watch. He just does not understand what DEF CON is. And people will tell you that they think they know what DEF CON is. DEF CON, hello, Pete. Good evening. I hope you got my my text message about the meeting we had last Saturday, Bell County Preparedness. I didn't, I'm sorry, I was tardy getting that to you. I wanted to get it to you in time to see you there. Maybe we could have gone to lunch together, but that's my bad guy. I'm sorry. Who is this? Brooklyn Girl 222 Maggie. Good evening. Good to see you, and welcome. So anyhow, I want to give you a couple things, because I've also seen some troops or some spouses of troops say, well, that's not what it says on the front gate of our post or our base. So I want to get into a couple things that we quite often confuse and straighten those out. So DEF CON, which is the defense condition, only applies to our strategic forces. So our strategic forces are basically our bomber bases, which are the B-52s, the B-1s, and the B-2s, okay? Barksdale, Minot, Davis-Monthan. But anyhow, I old age. There are several of them, but they're only the B-52, B-1, B-2 bases. They are also our land-based ICBM, Minuteman launch facilities. It pertains to them. It pertains to our nuclear forces that have either ICBMs, say with the boomers that are underwater, our not attack, but our strategic nuclear launch submarines, and then it also pertains to any of our surface-based naval assets that have longer range capabilities, tomahawks and things like that. That's who it pertains to. It does not pertain to the average Joe at Fort Hood, at Fort Leonard Wood, at Fort Sill, at Fort Carson. The DEFCON means nothing to them. They are not strategic assets, okay? Those are deployable troops, but you aren't going to, in a war that lasts an hour, you aren't going to deploy any of those assets. Now, we might get into a little bit of a discussion around whether or not special forces, any kinds of special forces, tier 1, tier 2 operators, or the 82nd Airborne, and certain Marine deployment MAUs, Marine assault units, whether or not they are strategic assets. I don't think so, but they could be. I could go either way on that, but I'm not going to say yes or no. So DEFCON is for strategic forces, those that can basically have an effect on the war within 1 hour, let's say, okay? And so that's what it is. DEFCON is classified. If anybody tells you they know what the DEFCON is, they're lying to you, because DEFCON is classified. Nobody except the people with the need to know what DEFCON we were at. I would venture to guess that we are still here in the United States under DEFCON 4. Okay? Now, what are they? DEFCON 5 is fade out, and that's the least of all. I don't think we've been at DEFCON 5 since the Cold War. But it's the lowest state of readiness, nuclear, and it's our normal readiness. These are my personal opinions, okay? I'm not telling you that I know what the DEFCON is. I don't. I lost my security clearance when I retired. I didn't have a need to know. I will tell you, when I was a field duty officer for the 111th MI Brigade, which is, we had a 3-star general in charge of our brigade, and because it's the U.S. Army Intelligence Center and School, and that's an entire brigade, and he was also in charge of all MI assets worldwide. We were not privy to what the DEFCON was. So that'll tell you who it applies to, okay? DEFCON 4 is a double take, and that's an increased watch, strength, and security measures. That's got above normal readiness. DEFCON 3 is roundhouse, an increase in force readiness. Air Force has to be able to mobilize in 15 minutes. So I'm going to say at DEFCON 4, you probably have the pilots in the ready rooms, okay? At DEFCON 3, you probably have the pilots, or DEFCON 4, they're probably on call. DEFCON 3, they're in the ready rooms, okay? And they're going to be trucked out to their bombers in order to in order to take off. DEFCON 2 is fast-paced, and it's approaching nuclear war, so they have to be able to engage the enemy within 6 hours. So that means they got to take off immediately, okay, and fly to the enemy. So that means that the pilots are more than likely sitting somewhere extremely close to their bombers so that they can get in and take off immediately. DEFCON 1 is cocked pistol. Nuclear war is imminent. I would venture to say that that means that the pilots are sitting inside of the bombers, and they probably might even have the engines warming up and ready to go. But that means max readiness and immediate response. Now, let's compare that to what people say they see on the front gate of a base or a post. By the way, Army has forts and posts. We don't have bases. Bases are Marine Corps, Air Force, and Navy. The Army is very, very peculiar about that. We don't have bases. But anyhow, it used to be called FPCON, or Force Protection Control. I'm sorry, it used to be called ThreatCon. Now it's called FPCON, Force Protection Control. And so you'll see a sign up on the gate as you're entering post, and it will say FPCON or ThreatCon. It'll have a color and it'll have a number, okay? So, a letter. So FPCON green is normal, okay? Then you have yellow, which is there's a minor predictable event that we're going to have people probably on call, things like that. Just be ready. but you're not, let us know where you are. B is that there's a predictable event happening. So that's where you're going to be on 24-hour recall for sure. They probably will. That's what happened to us in, gosh, I want to say right after Thanksgiving 1990. We went to ThreatCon Bravo because they were estimating that we were going to be deployed overseas for January 1991, which was Operation Desert Storm. So about Thanksgiving, they started calling in units and putting them under ThreatCon Bravo. Then ThreatCon Charlie is a serious danger, and so they're going to have enhanced things happen there. Now, once we get to Bravo, that's when they really start being very scrutinous about who is coming on post. So we didn't have the closed bases and posts that we did during the when I was on active duty, like we had when we retired, after I retired, and after 9/11. All of a sudden, it gets more and more difficult to get on post. There's usually only one or two access posts. As a matter of fact, when I went home to El Paso, which has Fort Bliss, is right there, for my 55th high school reunion, Helen and I wanted to go to the commissary PX. I grew up in the town. I could not find the entrance to Fort Bliss. There were only two entrances that were available to us, and they were on the other side of town, of course, on the west side and the north side, and I could not find anything on the south side, which is where I was approaching it from. But we had to show our ID cards, get those scanned, and everything else in order to get on post. And then there's ThreatCon Delta, which is serious, and there is an imminent threat nearby, so that there's going to be some sort of terrorist attack for you. Now, if we put that in the perspective of when I was at the 337th Army Security Agency Company, Fort Riley, Kansas, part of the 1st Infantry Division. 1st Infantry Division was one of the few what we called reforger deployable units. So that's redeployment of forces to Germany, redeployment, forces for Germany, reforger. So basically what it was when we reduced the amount of troops we had in Germany under our agreement with the Germans, we had to be able to send an entire infantry division back to Germany on 24-hour notice, and they had to be fully there within 72 hours. So 1st Infantry Division and 82nd Airborne Division were the two reforger units. And we had to be, we had what was called POMCUS, the positioning of military configured unit sets at Funari and Coleman Barracks in Mannheim, Germany. We would fly in, go there. Our unit set, all of the equipment we had, TO&E-wise, was there. We picked it up, drove it out to the assembly point. We were ready to take on the Russians within 72 hours. That's what that was. That was that alpha, okay? So, understand, there's a difference between the preparedness levels, the FORCECOM or DEFCON, and the ThreatCon or Force Protection Con. Okay, all those are different, so don't get those confused. Okay, questions or comments on that? Let me catch up. Joy in Life. Suzanne Butler's Little Old Pepper. I'm just reading through comments here real quick, make sure I don't miss anything. Joy in Life is in Ohio. I did not know that. Thanks for sharing that, Pete. Triple G Farm says that the Valero refinery in Port Arthur on the Texas coast is on fire, cause unknown. I will share with you, I don't know the validity of this. This is rumor, okay? So take this as validity, rumor, solely rumor. I heard earlier this evening that the Iranians have told President Trump to expect a special surprise tonight. So take that as rumor, do with it as you will. This could be part of that special surprise, the threat or the fire at the Valero place. Okay, let me see. Little known pepper, yes, Valero is one of the three largest refineries that we have. They are one of the primary makers of jet fuel in the U.S. So, joy in life, yes, you may. As a matter of fact, if you'll do it, then just separate, put the word dot instead of the actual dot, and you should be allowed to do it. I don't think that with your current status you can share links, but we'll probably change that here in the near future and make you a moderator so you can do that. Okay, what kind of vehicle is best for a survivalist to have to evacuate from a disaster? Commercial four-wheel drive pickup trucks, large SUVs are suitable. Make sure that they are reliable. So one of the things we might want to do is, it depends upon the situation. If you're concerned about a CME or an EMP, then you definitely want one where you have points and plugs instead of the computerized ignition systems that we have nowadays, because those may be affected by the EMP or the CME. Now, Arthur Bradley, he is the EMP specialist for NASA. His opinion is, and I have a tendency to agree with him, it all depends on whether the circuitry is perpendicular in your car, I'm talking about, whether it's perpendicular to or parallel with the arrival of the wave of energy as to whether it'll be affected. He believes that a lot of the vehicles, even with the modern computerized systems, will still be operable in a CME EMP condition. He is concerned about those things that are directly connected to the grid. So he believes that the EMP CME will most likely take out all of the long wires for certain. The shorter wires, it all depends on range, distance from the ignition, polarity, which is whether they're in line with or polarized against, a lot of different factors. So, if you're concerned about that, get an older vehicle. I think it's pre-1992 vehicle that has the points and plugs, and you should be safe with that. Roominess, make sure that there's plenty of room in it to get everything you need to evacuate in your vehicle. Make sure it has a good range, which means it has pretty good gas mileage or an extremely large gas tank, one or the other. But you don't want a small gas tank with poor range. Given a choice between my Toyota Tacoma and my wife's Kia Sportage, I would take the Sportage. We can fold down the back seat, turn that basically into a full SUV, get probably the same amount of stuff in the back of her SUV that we could get in the back of my pickup. She has a 4-cylinder engine. I have a V6. I get on average around 18 miles to the gallon. She gets on average 30 miles to the gallon. Her gas tank is slightly smaller. She has a 12-gallon tank. I have a 20-gallon tank, but she has a greater range than I do. So all of that taken into consideration, we would probably use the SUV more so than the pickup. Ruggedness, make sure you have reliability, room, and range. Four-wheel drive is preferred. Recommended equipment to have with your vehicle. This is really good. Spare gas cans, at least 10 gallons of extra fuel. Make sure you put stable or Pri-G in those. Those are fuel stabilizers. I know you can get stable at Walmart. Pri-G, I think you have to go to an auto parts store to get, or on Amazon. A siphoning pump or a transfer pump or with a hose. You don't want one that has a whole bunch of metal in it. You don't want it to get have any kind of static discharge. Tow rope or tow chains, come along winching device and cable, spotlight that runs off your accessory plug, camouflage netting, pieces of carpet. I never thought of this before, but pieces of carpet to put underneath your tires in case there's mud or snow so you can get traction. Battery operated air pump and tire repair kit, jumper cables, smoke bombs to throw to escape or for a diversion, emergency flares, fire extinguisher, bolt cutters to access closed roads and garages, And so that's kind of a lot of the stuff he has there. Great list. Get the book. Tab this page. Okay. Page one, or question number 140. Should survivalists establish hidden caches of survival supplies? Just a quick word for you. It's spelled C-A-C-H-E. C-A-C-H-E. That is pronounced cache, just like C-A-S-H. If it were to be pronounced cache, it would be a French word, and it would be C-A-C-H-E-T. There is no T. So since there is no T, it's not cache, it's cache. Same thing with the Italian word fort, F-O-R-T-E. Fort, F-O-R-T-E, is a person's strong point. F-O-R-T-E, forte, means increased loudness in music. Okay, so it means increase the volume in music. But that's a musical direction, forte, that a lot of people mispronounce and put it into English as fort. You're going to hear those two words very commonly mispronounced. They use the wrong one for the wrong term. Okay. So should you establish a hidden cache of survival supplies? I'm going to say, generically speaking, don't go down the highway and dig a hole and put something in the hole. Somebody's going to find it. Somebody's going to steal it. They're going to widen the road. They're going to do all kinds of things, and you're going to lose it. Okay. Not even in forest areas or anything like that. If you're going to go put it in a forested area, and you're going to dig a hole and put a PVC pipe with an end on it, make sure it's watertight and everything else, then you can use if you have it, you can use your Mestastic device, okay? And if it has geolocations on it, I was going to show you how this will geolocate me right now, but I don't want to give away my geolocation on YouTube. But anyhow, turn it on. Within 10 seconds, it'll tell you down to within 10 meters of where you are. And then you could just remember where that is. So geolocate any caches that you might have that are out there. Best thing to do, just have a bag or a foot locker or a chest or something of supplies with friends or neighbors along your evacuation routes. That's the best thing to do. Or you can rent he doesn't talk about this, but this is something I got from a Franklin Horton book, and it's all about the fact that he had these established lockers for his daughter when in case SHTF happened, when she was away at college, she could get back to him. So he had all these rent-a-spaces, and he gave her the keys to the padlocks so that she could go to the rent-a-space, open it up, and get what supplies she needed, and that would last until she got to the next one. That book series is called Locker 9 by Franklin Horton. So that's that whole idea behind that. Make sure you have safe spaces, people who will watch them for you, people you trust that will keep them for you, rented lockers that you can get to as you're evacuating. I would prefer that you not dig holes in the ground, okay? Cache containers must be absolutely watertight and corrosion proof. A lot of people are using the PVC pipe, the very, very thick PVC pipe with the screw-on lids. That's a good idea for that. So what would you put in it? He's got a list here of several things that he recommends putting into it. I'm going to say, and he says it as you get into this, it's all situation dependent. It's all location dependent. I probably would not put, for example, tents and blankets or sleeping bags in my caches because it just doesn't get that cold here typically. I mean, a freezing day here is 32 degrees, right? And it doesn't get much colder than that. 99% of the time when it snows here, it's melted by noon, okay? Now, we do get the occasional ice storm, and those will last maybe a week or two, but it all depends on where you are as to what you're going to put in and your local terrain and your local weather conditions as to what you're going to put in those caches, okay? Okay, number 141, how important are health and physical conditioning to being a survivalist? Absolutely. Number one, critical. Make sure you're getting in, make sure you do two different kinds of exercises. Okay. Number one, you want endurance. So walk. Walking is the best endurance exercise you can do. If you can put on your bug out bag and walk, you're going to get used to it. And then you're going to improve your overall strength and stamina. So that's primarily improving your overall stamina. Strength exercises are also important. So like I showed you in my hall, it's still here, we do resistance band exercises at Silver Sneakers on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when I go. I decided I wanted to do more of it at home. So I got this resistance band, and it depends on where you put your hands and inside each one. The length of the band determines the amount of resistance that you're getting. And so you can increase the amount of resistance and increase the amount of effort that it requires to do the exercise. So make sure you're doing both. Make sure you're doing stamina. Make sure you're doing strength. Okay. And exercise all the parts of your body. One of the parts of my body that are just gone to poo-poo are my triceps. Look at this. These things are just kind of flabby. I mean, can you believe that I was actually a soldier at one point with these triceps like that? Golly. But anyhow, I'm trying to get those back in condition. My biceps are doing well. My legs are doing well. My hips, I'm getting those back into position, back into endurance. And so we have a 5-mile walk coming up on Thursday. Now I have to use a cane for stability, but yeah, I'm going to do 5 miles on Thursday. So we just need to do that. Okay. Love Son said, started my Silver Sneakers at the gym this past weekend. I feel I need to work on my strength and endurance. Absolutely. And it's a great way. I don't know about yours, but ours is 1 hour. So we start out working with stretching and everything like that. And then we do a walk, a 1/4-mile walk around the gym. Then we come back and we work with our exercise bands and do a lot of resistance exercises. We do that for about 15 minutes. Get done with that, do another 1/4-mile walk. Come back, we work with weights for 15 minutes and do another 1/4-mile walk. Then we come back and work with a ball. So we're working on, increasing our resistance and exercises between our arms and our legs. And then we work on coordination, throwing, catching, dribbling, all those kinds of things, tossing and bouncing against the wall and catching, so that hand-eye coordination for us seniors becomes very difficult. So we're working on constantly improving that. The last 3 to 5 minutes, we do some balancing exercises. So we'll stand next to our chair with our front feet in line with each other, toe to heel, and then put our hands over our head and raise one foot, okay, and then balance again, then raise the other foot. We're constantly challenging our balance so that we make sure that we're maintaining balance at all times. So I don't know about you, but that's how we do our Silver Sneakers exercise. We do that 3 times a week. So make sure you're going to the doctor, getting your health ups. Make sure you're up to date on all your shots, especially tetanus. And any of your others. I would say, the flu. If you're our age, shingles and pneumonia shots are critical. So just stay current with your physician as far as the medications, prophylactics, and keeping your body in check. Matter of fact, I have to make an appointment for my annual lung X-ray. Prior smoker, so I have emphysema, and so that they keep pretty close watch on that. Next one is stop smoking if you do smoke. Yeah, I'm going to say 35 years of smoking did a lot of damage to my lungs, so don't do it. Don't be as stupid as I was. Now, your metabolism is going to change. Your gut system and how you metabolize food, how you absorb food, how you react to food is going to change when you change your diet. So once we go from our normal daily diet that we have now into more MRE-based, solely canned goods or solely dehydrated, freeze-dried, it's going to change your digestive system. Make sure you are prepared for that with the proper either plug it up or loosen it up medications as necessary. Oh, by the way, both of those medications, to loosen it up and to plug it up, are based off of petrochemicals. So just take a word from the wise. As gas prices go up, that means that petrochemicals coming into the country are greatly reduced and prices are going up. So the same thing that they make your gasoline in your car out of is the same thing they make Motrin, Tylenol, aspirin, ibuprofen, acetaminophen. Most of the medications, over-the-counter medications, are based off of. Hello, North Carolina, Douglas. Welcome. Good to see you. Those are all based off of petrochemicals. Get them now before the prices go up. Okay. Be sure to maintain your teeth. I can't tell you how important that is. Teeth are going to be important. That was one of the causes of death back in the 17 and 1800s. Was if you had a rotten tooth and then it got infected, that could be a cause of death. Okay, so make sure you take care of your teeth. We talked about regular medical checkups. Don't let age be your excuse for letting yourself go. Absolutely. I'm 73. I exercise 5 days a week. Okay. I encourage you to do the same. I'm 73 and a half. Wow. Okay. When did the survivalist movement begin? Well, actually, the survivalist movement began when we came to this country back in John Smith and taught us all about it in Pocahontas and the first Thanksgiving and everything else. They almost died because they didn't have enough food production, and if it weren't for the Native Americans, they would have died. So they had to start storing their food. So there have been survivalists, bushcrafters, since the day that the Western Europeans or the Europeans came to this country. Okay, now what we call survivalism now basically is an evolution of the Cold War after World War II. So I will tell you, I started prepping in 1962. I was 10 years old, and my next door neighbor, Keith, was the block civil defense warden, and he was building a cinder block fallout shelter in his backyard because of the Cuban Missile Crisis. We were afraid that the Soviets were going to launch intermediate range ballistic missiles from Cuba, and they could hit us. And so we were really afraid of nukes. We had a lot of really big nuclear movies. On the Beach was probably the most popular one at that time, where there was total devastation of the earth by nuclear radiation. There was one submarine that happened to have a civilian female on it that survived. And I guess that was 1963 because I remember the theme song to the movie was Waltzing Matilda, and we sang that in Cub Scouts. But anyhow, so survivalism kind of focused on the hunker down, be prepared for civil war, for nuclear war type stuff, until the Rambo movies came out. Rambo kind of popularized and romanticized the bushcraft run out to the fields to survive against the threat. That was reinforced by another movie that came out later, within the next 10 to 20 years, called Red Dawn. So all of a sudden you have these high school kids who bug out to the woods, and bugging out made them survivors, that they were going to survive anything and everything that happened to them by the Sino-Cuban invasion of the U.S. All of a sudden, bugging out became the big thing, right? And so at the same time, we kind of split. Survivalism became the people who were the hunker down people. Preparedness became more of the, preppers became more of the hunker down people. Survivalists became more of the bushcraft, go out, bug out people, stuff like that. Then we had a third group establish themselves that were the homesteaders. Okay, so the homesteaders just said, we're not bugging out anywhere because we're already here. So that stayed that way. I'm going to say up until Y2K. Y2K. There's a strange thing. If you look on your keyboard on your computer, underneath the question mark, there is a key, and it's called a stroke, or it's called a slash. Okay. Now, if you have an Apple product, above the return key, there's a bar, and underneath that, there is a backslash. Well, young people in the year 1990s, when this was really popularized, couldn't differentiate between a slash and a backslash. So they had to rename the backslash or the slash to a forward slash. So now we have forward slash, which used to be just slash, and backslash. Okay. So then people couldn't differentiate between bug out and hunker down. So what they did was they came out with a new term called bug in, which makes absolutely no sense because to bug is to run, right? So you're running away to where you already are if you're bugging in. Hunker down. Just going to hunker down. Okay. So that's kind of the history of survivalism. 143, what is the rule of threes in survival and preparedness? What he has here for the rule of threes is different from what I have as a rule of threes. So let me give you what he has for the rule of threes. His rule of threes, I would say, is my PACE program. So PACE is primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency. So his rule of three is your primary method for defense is a firearm, secondary is a knife, tertiary is a survival bow, and then an alternative emergency would be pepper spray. Shelter is your home, tent, tarp, natural shelter. So he goes through a whole bunch of that as his rule of threes. My rule of threes is a little bit different, and that is that you can only survive 3 minutes without air. So the number one thing you need to be concerned with is protecting your air. Make sure you have safe air. I can do a demo on that. I've got this down here. I have a whole bunch of books covering it, so I have to move the books. But so this is how you protect your air. You get one of these, and there's a link to this company down below. Make sure, but also when you do that, make sure you get extra filters because most filters are going to become clogged in about 4 to 6 hours time in a polluted environment. So you want to make sure you have plenty of filters, because you're going to have to change your filters in that environment every so often. Now, that's one of the things we had to do in the Army, was we had to change our filters in a certain amount of time without exposing, without getting anything inside, contaminants inside the mask while you were changing your filters. So that's 3 minutes without air, 3 hours in a severe climate. So that's typically going to be extreme cold. You can freeze to death in 3 hours, okay? As is witnessed by the 1912 event, the sinking of the Titanic, the water temperature was just above freezing in the North Atlantic. So the vast majority of people who only had life jackets and jumped overboard and were not in a lifeboat protecting them from the temperature of the waters succumbed in 3 hours to the extremely cold weather, 35-degree water, and succumbed to that and froze to death, basically. Lost all their body heat would be a more appropriate way of saying that. Then 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food, and then 3 months without companionship. You basically go crazy. As we saw in the movie, what was that Tom Hanks movie where he named his basketball Rawlings, and that was his best friend, or he made a pineapple, painted a face on, or something like that. Named it Rawling. I forget the name of the movie. Anyhow, you know what I'm talking about. So he had to create his own friend. Same thing with Robinson Crusoe. So there are all kinds of examples of people who kind of go a little bit on the wacky side if they don't have companionship after about 3 months. Little Lone Prepper says, a person can get hypothermia in 65 degrees if they don't have adequate shelter. Fantastic. Thank you for that. Castaway, Wilson, thank you, Little Lone Prepper. She saved me twice in a row. 65 degrees for the temperature for hypothermia, and then Wilson was the name of it. And the movie was Castaway. Fantastic. Thank you. Tammy Harder, good evening. Welcome. Good to see you. What if I make all these efforts to prepare and nothing bad happens? You got all kinds of good stuff you can still use. You got basically good food supply, so I would just say, I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And I know that's trite. I know that's trite, but that's the best thing. example I can give you. Where are we? 45 minutes. Okay. What should a survivalist keep in a disaster first aid kit? Here's my rule of thumb. He's got 2 pages, an entire list of stock stuff you need to stock in your first aid kit. I'm not going to go through them because I want you to buy the book. Okay. Um, and so I'm going to give you my personal opinions. Number one, on an individual first aid kit, an IFAC. If you are a member of a group, make sure everybody in the group has the exact same IFAC. Remember that the IFAC that you wear is for your personal use, not for you to use on somebody else. So however your IFAC is set up, you want it to be like theirs so that they know where everything is. So that when they come take care of you with your IFAC, they know where all the components are. You do that by having everybody have the exact same IFAC. Okay? If everybody has a different IFAC, they're going to be searching for stuff to try to save you. Where's your tourniquet? Where's your gauze? Where's, you're in panic mode. You're in suffering from shock. You can't answer, but they're going to want to know where all this stuff is because yours isn't set up like theirs. Make sure it's all the same. I did a study when I put together my field first aid kit, which is a family first aid kit, and let me tell you, it takes up almost a duffel bag. But I did a study with the National Forest Service, and I said, okay, let's take campers, people who are going out into the woods and camping. That's probably going to be the best equivalent to what we will have as far as a living environment in a post-apocalyptic world. So, what are the most common injuries that there are in a camping environment, is seen by the National Forest Service? Number one thing, burns. Okay. Number two, broken bones. Number three are cuts and puncture wounds. From hitting your leg with your axe because you're not using it properly to chop wood, or cutting towards yourself with a knife and gashing your arm instead of cutting away from you. All those different types of things that involve cutting. Number four are insect and animal bites. Okay, so make sure you have plenty of disinfectants and things and sterile washes to take care of animal and insect bites. Know how to treat those. And then we're going to add a couple to that. When I further researched it and said, okay, let's go back to the 1800s and even the early 1900s. What are some of the things? Almost any wound becomes infectious, and when it becomes infectious, that becomes fatal. Antibiotics. Make sure you have antibiotics. I can do a show and tell on that one too. I didn't plan for this. And there's a link for this down below too. Get a Jace case, and I got to get a new one. They have doubled the amount of medications. There's now 10 vials of medications in your Jace case for only $10 more than what I paid for these 5. Okay, so you're now up to 10 medications in your Jace case. They're all antibiotics, and they have other over the counter stuff as well as prescription stuff. You work with a physician. What you need, you get a prescription, then you can have those sent to you. But one of my biggest fears is my neighbors aren't going to have good sanitation after SHTF. I envision if the sewage system stops, that we'll have the images of all that fecal matter coming out of the restrooms at the Superdome in New Orleans after Katrina. I see that happening in my street. When you have all kinds of fecal or people trying to dig cat holes in their backyard and doing it wrong, whatever the case might be, there's going to be a lot of waste that is going to attract disease, insects, rodents, animals, disease. Make sure you have antibiotics to support that. So that's going to be another important part of your overall first aid. Topical antibiotics. Stop that infection before it gets a chance to start. Topical antibiotics, by the way, are another one of those, especially if they have like Neosporin, and some of those are also petrochemical based. So get that before the prices increase because of the Straits of Hormuz being closed. So get your topical antibiotics. Make sure you have those, plenty of those. Make sure you study arterial bleeding. One of the best courses I have ever attended in my life is called Stop the Bleed. They actually had a dummy, and they had gash wounds, and so you had to, and it pumped arterial bleeding, a red substance. And so we had to go in with our finger and find the artery and close off the artery and then pack the wound with gauze sufficiently with enough pressure to stop the bleeding of the artery. So we did wound packing. We also studied how to put a tourniquet on, and it showed it had basically this gel so that if you put the tourniquet on incorrectly, it didn't stop the bleeding. You had to stop the bleeding in order to pass. But absolute best class I've ever taken in first aid. If there is a stop the bleed class near you, take it. Take it. Take it. And just critical. If there's a CERT team, look up CERT, C-E-R-T. That stands for Community Emergency Response Team. Join them. You will get all kinds of free training like Stop the Bleed. And your city, county will pay for that. So that's just fantastic if you can get that done. So, and then the other thing that was a high, the two leading causes of death for females in the late 19th century, 1800s, early 20th century, the early 1900s, were number one, burns, because they had the open fire hearth inside the house, and women wore long flowing dresses. And so those charcoals would be brought out onto the cooking area, and those charcoals, she would put a pot on it, and her dress would come into contact with the charcoal. That cotton dress would catch up in flames. You have second, third degree burns over 80% of the body. Terrible way to die. But that was one of the leading causes of death for women in the late 19th century. Well, actually, from the 17th century on up into the early 20th century. The other one was childbirth. So if you can get a class in how to deliver a child, one in childbirthing, please do so. That's going to be another critical one that we're going to have to study in order to assist us with staying alive in a post-apocalyptic world. So, in summary, make sure you have the proper first aid tools. First, have an individual first aid kit, which is not your everything kit, okay? Then have a family first aid kit, which there's a fantastic list of things in here. Things to include: burns, get some SAM splints and some things to put the SAM splints on for broken bones. Know the difference between open and closed compound fractures and things like that. Get good training in that. How to set a bone if there's not any medical traction. If there's not any medical experience around, they're going to depend on you. So learn how to set a broken bone. That's going to primarily be through some sort of traction. Also dislocated joints. So study up on dislocated joints. Cuts, insect bites, animal bites, insect stings, animal bites, things like that. Get the latest on snake bites. We no longer advocate cutting the wound and sucking it out and all that kinds of stuff. So make sure you get the latest stuff on insect bites. Oh, another one that I was surprised to find out is petrochemical based, epinephrine. So if you have to have an epi auto injector like I do, those are purely petrochemical based, and so get one now before the prices go up. If you have a prescription, I've got a renewal. I'm going to go ahead and get my renewal simply because I'm afraid of prices going up. So let me see. We got burns, breaks, cuts, and arterial flow, things like that. Know the difference between capillary, venal, and arterial flow. Know when you cover a wound. I would say, a lot of you are going to be interested in wanting to sew and wanting to staple wounds closed. Please don't. Think about it. You're in a non-sterile environment. And so now you're going to add 2 puncture wounds, one on each side of that gash, in order to insert thread to close the wound. So you're adding 2 puncture wounds to every stitch. that means that you're doubling, tripling the chances of infection. If you can, just irrigate the wound, wash it, douse it with all kinds of antibiotics, topical antibiotics, and then use butterfly stitches or use a zip stitch. I love zip stitch. I'm really impressed with that. Or you can use any other kinds of skin closure devices, butterflies, Steri-strips, zip stitch. All those are phenomenal. They can do the same thing as a staple or a stitch without adding any additional puncture wounds to it. You can also get some benzoate ointment. And what you do with benzoate ointment is you put it on either side of that gash, and it's basically a surgical type of a stuff. And that causes your Steri-strip or your butterfly to stick to the skin better so that it doesn't come loose, okay? And then it'll over time, it'll come off. But, that's something you can do. Understand that you can also use skin closure glue, medical grade glue, to close that wound if necessary. There are emergency things you can use in place of it. You can use super glue in place of medical grade glue. If their life depends on it, do it. Same thing. If you don't have any Steri-strips or you don't have any butterfly strips, yes, you can make them out of duct tape. Okay, so yeah, learn all those different things on how you can take care of your family members, your group members, yourself in a dire emergency. So that's basically cuts and wounds. Make sure you're taking care of infections. Get Alton's book on. So Dr. Alton and Nurse Amy have Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy. They have a fantastic YouTube channel. They have a fantastic Facebook channel. They have fantastic books. They have 3 books out right now that are just fantastic. Dr. Alton's Emergency First Aid. They have infectious disease, and then they have how to create a medical center. Let me look up. It's basically how to create a small ward to take care of people with infectious diseases. So Dr. Alton, I'm looking it up on Amazon as we talk. So the first one is Dr. Alton's Antibiotics and Infectious Disease, the Layman's Guide to Available Antibacterials in Austere Settings, the Survival Medicine Handbook, which is an essential must-have. Then the other one is Alton's Pandemic Preparedness Guide. That's what it is, Pandemic Preparedness Guide. Those 3 books are must-haves for your library, so make sure you have those. And I would say that's going to keep you going. That'll be good for you. So that brings us up to date, and next week we'll have the last 5, and then after the last 5, we'll get into the new book, which is Mark Rettinger's Bug In, Bug Out. So let's see what the comments have to say here. Falls will be, Utah Mike says falls will be a big enough issue for his family. Yeah. So, and that's why I have to walk with a cane. I have severe neuropathy in both feet. I don't feel the ground when I'm walking. So I have to have something to touch so I can have relative position of where my feet are. I fall quite a bit. As a matter of fact, I fell and broke my hip 5 years ago. So I have a total hip replacement. But yeah, that's very common amongst seniors. Is we lose our balance, and so falls are another one. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a very common thing. And so being concerned with falls is going to be a very prominent issue. And as people have to maneuver, to take care of any threats, you're going to have twisted ankles and all kinds of stuff. Know how to take care of those. Boy Scout Handbook, the Boy Scout Field Book, is a fantastic first aid book. Get it. And it'll teach you how to use things such as triangular bandages to do an ankle support for a broken ankle or a twisted ankle. Boy Scout Field Handbook is fantastic. Get a copy if you can. That's a fantastic basic first aid kit, our first aid instruction guide, just right there. Let me see. Somebody's agreeing with Kaylin, but I don't know what it is she said that they're agreeing with. I'm glad somebody got help. Okay. So Kaylin's going to have the opportunity to have CPR class. Yes. So if you can get a CPR class, that's fantastic. One of the things that Mr. Jones is a certified EMT. So one of the things he advocates everybody have is carry aspirin with you. Just carry 1 or 2 aspirin with you, so that if you feel that you have a heart attack coming on, take an aspirin. He says that's one of the best first aid things that anybody can do to decrease the overall effects of a heart attack is take an aspirin the minute you think you're having a heart attack. It's getting to the point with my age. Y'all are talking about 2 to 3 day fasting. At my age, I just eat 1 meal a day. Okay, yeah, Utah Mike has firefighters teaching the class. Volunteer fire departments will have them quite a bit as well. So that's another good place to look for it. Let me see. Take care, Shenandoah. Yes, good point, Utah Mike. That you can get vet supplies, and sometimes they are cheaper than. I clicked on it thinking I was in another channel, that I could highlight that on the screen, but I can only do that when I'm not using the inherent program with YouTube. That is StreamYard. With StreamYard, when I click on your comment, it shows up on the screen down below, but that didn't work. So Little Known Prepper is saying that Amazon has a 12-pack of individually packaged cohesive bandages rolls on sale for $8.97. Great price. So that's about 75 cents each. I would go for that in a heartbeat. Absolutely. Yes, and Where There Is No Doctor, Where There Is No Dentist are also great books. I would say that if you get the 3 Alton books plus Where There Is No Dentist, you're set up. Where There Is No Doctor is another fantastic book that I would add to that, but I would get the Alton book primarily. Joy in Life. How can you get in touch with me? You can send me an email at coldwarprepper@outlook.com. You can message me here on the channel. Either one of those would be fantastic. Let me see. V Aka Show and Tell. Oh, V, AKA Show and Tell. Gotcha. Okay. Also known as. Okay. Well, welcome. Good to see you. I'm sorry, but we are at the end of the show. So thank you all for being here. Like I said, we got five more numbers, paragraphs. So we're going to study with Mr. Jones here next week. That will be our last week with his book, which is an essential must-have for your library, 150 Survival Secrets. Then in 2 weeks, we will begin reading Bug In and Bug Out, the Urban Survival Manual. And so I'll have a link on how you can get that in the description this evening so that you can get prepared for that as it comes. For right now, we're going to go to the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26. And this is what they said. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and his sons and tell them, this is how you shall bless the Israelites. Say unto them," and this is where we're going to apply it to you. "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace." Now, as I said earlier in the show, I don't have any confirmation. File this under rumor, but just have it as a point in your mind. Okay, just in case it expands. But the rumor is that the Iranians have told President Trump to expect a special surprise from him tonight. So be on your guard. I hope that you are well prepared. And let's pray that it doesn't happen, whatever it is, and that is just a rumor. Okay? So remember, you and I, we're all in this together. We're going to come out of this together, and maybe we can rebuild, and maybe we can learn from the lessons of how we did not love each other the way we should before this happened, and maybe we can institute that after this happens. So maybe when we rebuild, we can build a better place based on mutual respect, kindness, and understanding, because the only way that we're going to get through this is for you and I to treat each other with kindness, respect, love, and understanding. Thank you for being here. We will see you this coming Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Central. We're going to do our conflicted. We now have a fantastic panel of 4. We have the author, John Grammer. We have Tammy Lightheart. And we have Mike from Hudson Valley Prepping. And we have Tom Sarge from Prepping with Sarge. So we got 4 fantastic panelists with a very difficult, conflicted thing that we're going to discuss this coming Saturday evening at 7:30 p.m. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe. Bye-bye.